everybody, and welcome back to the Happy Life Show. And let me introduce you to my wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, scrumptious, darling wife, Ahiranta.
Oh, thank
Doesn't
you.
she look beautiful?
Thank
You've got to
you.
admit, I'm a lucky man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Don't get jealous out there. I know you're all about you guys.
And let me introduce you to my wonderful, loving husband, Ozay Tulku Rinpoche.
Leave all the comments below about that.
Hello, nice
Hello.
of you to come back.
Okay.
This will be the sixth talk from our series of 6, so this means it's the last one from this series.
Yeah.
Tammy van Duin and Bert, they asked if we could explain what exactly is enlightenment. Talk 5 was about enlightenment. We answered Kate's question, but I think Tammy wants to know exactly what is enlightenment, because we talk a lot about enlightenment. What is it? Instead of telling how you got there, but what is it?
Yeah. Well, I think personally that enlightenment is something that only people who have really suffered in their life, mentally, physically, emotionally, all those things together maybe, and otherwise, I mean, you get those who seek enlightenment because they've joined an organization or a religion, which is not really an authentic reason to want enlightenment, because enlightenment is actually to be free of suffering. And I think the term was coined from the Buddhists, from the Buddha, and he wanted to be free because he was kept away from the usual everyday. His father was given a premonition about the young Buddha would be either a great king, a great warrior leader, or he was going to become a spiritual leader. And so he tried to keep him away from all the natural things like decay.
From society, really. He kept him in the palace,
from
innit?
society, from decay, from disease, from death, and, you know, old people and all of those things.
Aging, he wanted him to be a king.
Yeah, so one day, like the Buddha, when he was a young man, you know, he knew he was kept under a certain kind of environment, and he was only given the beautiful things of life, and he never saw anything of real life.
Yeah, because when he went outside of the palace, they would remove the beggars, they would remove the old people, and so he would go out of the palace, but they paved the way, so he could only see the beauty in society.
Life,
yes.
And so, but his father didn't know what he was doing was in fact by keeping him away from the impact of being fed gradually from 0 up to, you know, the end of your life. What he did was, when Buddha one day he wanted to find out what it was all about.
Yeah, he went out with the servant. The servant took him out.
And so he went out. He was a young prince.
Among the normal people, nobody knew it was the prince.
And because he never saw none, he saw old people, he saw diseased people.
Yeah.
And it impacted him 100 times
Poverty,
more than what it would have if he'd been naturally introduced to it. So what his father didn't know was, by keeping him away from it, that when he actually was introduced to it, that it would impact him much more by keeping him away from it. Like any of us, it would have happened. But his father obviously didn't have the wisdom to foresee that what he was doing was actually not making him the possible warrior king that he wanted him to be, but actually the warrior spiritual leader that he was destined to become. And so what is enlightenment? Well, the clue there is in the suffering, decay and disease, and being free from all of that. How to be free from suffering. And that's why I say that most people who genuinely seek an end to suffering, and I think that, you know, today we suffer anxiety and depression and all kinds of mental illnesses like that, and the pharmaceutical companies, they're not inspired, what do you call it, as a matter of good doing, but they're inspired by making as much money as they can.
Great.
Greed.
Yeah.
So it's not to serve humanity for the greater
It's
good.
not altruistic, is
They're
it?
serving the greater good of their pockets,
Yeah.
which means, like any drug dealer, that when you get people hooked on a drug, you become rich. That's the other side of it, which becoming rich will lead to eventual suffering because nothing lasts.
And you cause suffering in a lot of people.
Yeah.
Instead of relieving the other people that you see, relieve them from the suffering, the greed puts upon other people a lot of suffering. And the Buddha wanted to...
The Buddha, I mean, when he saw all those things, he was totally shocked. And what that shock did to him was obviously it induced inner suffering. Does that mean that I'm going to go through all these stages through life, that there's no escape from suffering, there's no escape from death, there's no escape from disease and decay and, you know, the ultimate death? And that impacted him and gave him a great suffering. So after seeing all this, he decided to what good was his princely life if in the end that his reward was going to be death, ultimately disease, decay and suffering. So he pursued, because of the impact, it motivated him to find a better answer than what his father wanted him to find. So he went on, he went into religious organisations, he tried austerity, he tried this and he tried that.
He visited lots of so-called masters, isn't it?
He went everywhere to seek out freedom from suffering. And he tried all kinds of stuff, and then he found what they called the middle way. And so basically the motivation was to be free from suffering, and that's the ultimate goal of enlightenment, or it becomes a non-goal when you get closer towards it.
But that is explained in the other talk.
That's all part of freedom from suffering, being free from goals, being free from ambitions, and all of those things, desire.
Becoming free from everything that causes people mental illnesses, unless it is a chemical-induced mental disbalance.
But I have an argument with that.
Yes, but a lot of people who suffer from anxiety is because of the pressure put upon them in their youth or during their early teens or in their young adulthood, that they have to become something instead of being accepted in the way they are.
I have a certain view about depression, anxiety and what have you. You choose those thought processes that go through your mind. We all have freedom of choice. And I don't like to sound hard, but we're hard on ourselves. We're harder on ourselves than I can ever be to you personally. And the facts are the facts for me. And if somebody suffers with depression or anxiety, it's because they keep turning over the same old thoughts that induce those symptoms, because it becomes symptoms in your body, in your mind, and in your body, and you know everything goes wrong when your mind goes wrong, and so your body goes wrong because your mind have chosen wrong thoughts. And who chooses the thoughts? In your mind. And you can give yourself lots and lots of reasons to choose the wrong thinking, but if you know that the way you think is going to impinge on your wholesomeness in your life, and that every thought that you make is either going to have a positive influence or a negative influence, then from that point, it's like we were talking before in the meditation, you choose which flow of thought you want to entertain.
But you have to become aware. Some people are so unaware that they are keeping going into negative scenarios. I call them scenarios, little stories. And some people go through tremendous trauma during their childhood, and it's like they are stuck in that trauma. They relive it as soon as they become tired or there's a lot of stress. They fall back. I call it a groove. We had those big long LPs for the people who are our age. Now it's MP3 players and stuff. But in our day we had big black discs with grooves in it, and that was where the music was on. And if you damaged that disc, it would hang, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but do you know what we used to do with those? Right, and it's a kind of metaphor, this is. Well, when you had a scratch in it and it jumped right over there like that, do you know what
or
you
it's
do?
stuck.
Yeah, or it's stuck, playing over.
I know.
We used to stick a penny on top.
Yes, a coin.
And then that weight would break the cut.
Yes.
And then it would play normal.
So how can people do that then in the metaphor? Instead, what is the coin?
Being stuck in the same place.
Yeah, what can they use to
Well, to
make
start
them...
with, you become aware that it's stuck.
It's the awareness, isn't it? Yeah.
It's stuck in the same place.
And you do something about being
and,
stuck.
And what is the thing that's aware that it's stuck?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to develop.
And that is the coin then.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's you don't need to even play the same record over and over. You can put a new one on if you want to. You can change it completely because that's your choice.
Yeah.
You can get up this morning. Today you can sit down after watching us and you can write a story of who you want to be. And then tomorrow write another story of who you want to be. And then the day after write a story of who you want to be, because that's the same thing. The only difference is that you choose one story and you keep replaying it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then, in the beginning, that story wasn't so real. And the second time you played it, it became a little bit more real. A little bit more, a little bit more. The more you play it, the more real it becomes. The more you become stuck. The scratch has been created. You're stuck there. But you, no one else, you listen to my voice. Look into my eyes. You are the one who chose that story. Change the story. Make it. You don't need a story even, because your real nature is a film actor, a player upon, what is that, Shakespeare person, the one Hamlet.
Hamlet,
you
yes.
create your own Hamlet in your life, all the ups and the downs and everything. You only got to change the lines. It's as easy as that. And if you make effort in the beginning, like the pressing of the needle, the heavy weight on the needle, to make a change, and then it becomes easier, and then eventually this scene one, cut, whatever, blah blah, and it's a new play. Remember though, always remember and always be aware that the person you play is not who you really are. You're nothing.
And the trauma that causes some people to get stuck,
Yeah.
For me it was, I tried to control my environment to deal with my trauma in my childhood. As soon as I learned and became brave enough to let go of that need for control, I'm not totally free of it, but much better than before. That created for me a freedom, and I become less stuck in my groove. Also what helped me was to realize that that which I can't control should not have any space in my mind, should not occupy my mind. Another thing I also practice is when I become tired, the old habits try to come forward. I don't give it any energy by talking about it, or because I know it's just in the past. I know it has no place in my mind. But if I would talk about it over and over again, I make it real, and I give it energy. Everything you focus on, you make stronger, or you dissolve it. It depends on what your call is. And tiredness makes us black, dark, black. So another thing is to make sure that you stay out of tiredness where possible, to pace yourself, which is again very difficult. I had to do that. And I'm still failing at times to pace myself, because once you feel good, I have a chronic health problem. Once I feel good, I am like a bipolar person, but then in physical form. When I feel good, I feel good. Yeah. And then I want to, let's do this, let's do that, because I know the next moment I can be in bed again. So
energy.
yeah, so I needed to learn to pace myself, which is not always easy, especially again when you're tired. So enlightenment is what we try to answer here, the question of Tammy. Enlightenment is learning to leave all the trauma behind, see where it comes from, see where it belongs.
Well, it's not just about the trauma, it's the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah, I just focused on the trauma, but there's many reasons.
The whole thing. You had mind realization, and mind realization is recognizing the nature of you.
The working of your mind.
Yeah. And you can't recognize the nature of you until you've been aware that the mind is another entity from the you, and that entity is the record playing, and it's the one that creates all the chemicals in the body, the depression, the desire to have drugs to induce a bliss out feeling or whatever they do, those drugs. And what you have in yourself is much more powerful than those medications you get from the doctor for anxiety. Although I'm not asking anybody, I don't want to carry that responsibility, because I'm not asking anyone to give up their
If you take medication, stay on it until you have talked to your
ask advice of the
medical,
doctor, and tell him you want to maybe give it up, and Ozay may have said this and may have said that, but I'm not advising anyone to give up medication, because I don't want to be responsible for anyone throwing themselves off of a roof, which somebody did some time ago, and a young lad. Luckily enough, he only ended up with broken bones, a broken this and a broken that, but anyway.
Drugs induced again, huh?
Drug messing around with the record that you play and that you identify with, and this young lad, he used to keep playing. He'd send me these records. He'd say, "Listen to the words, Jose, listen to the words." Often it was dark stuff and absolute shit, really. And what he'd done, he'd learned to imprint all these sentences into his own psyche, and it became a part of him and his record. And of course, when you keep playing stuff over in your record, in your brain, your ego or whatever, it has an effect on the body, and it has an effect on your actions. And don't be surprised if you choose a shit record that is going to create shit in you. But remember, who chose the record? Who is the one you have to question? The who and
the why.
And
why do we put that record on?
I think that sometimes human beings, they experiment with different situations in life. We are here to experience everything. And if you were here to experience suffering, then that suffering is the precursor towards enlightenment. But don't keep yourself there too long, because you can end up causing damage to your body and your health.
Yeah.
Try to be aware that you can have so much of it, and then give yourself a time, and say, I'm going to stop, and then I've experienced that part of life. Now, while I'm in this body, I want to be free. I want to know you can do it. If you can make yourself suffer like that, if you can make yourself have mental illness, because it's you that chooses to replay the same thing, the same thoughts that create the anxiety, that create the depression. It's you. You choose those thoughts, to keep replaying them. Black the thoughts out, because look at those thoughts. They're not doing you no good. You, no one else at all. You can go and see a doctor. A doctor is trained by the pharmaceutical companies. He's trained to medicate your bad thoughts. And your bad thoughts bring on bad, unwholesome health situations. But you are the one who should be the doctor. You are the one who made yourself ill through replaying those same bad thoughts round and round, round and round, round and round. Hypnosis, self-hypnosis. It starts off as a fleeting idea. One day, I think I'll think something bad today. Ooh, let's get scared about this. Let's get scared about that. And before you know it, you wake up every morning and then you're in bed, you're rigid with fear. Why are you rigid with fear? Because you brought all those things to yourself. You could have just as easily have chosen to see sunshine in every situation. And remember to be on the guard about bad thoughts. And if you've got to choose thoughts, if you've got to choose records to play, why not play something nice? If you haven't got the ability to stay in the stillness of the beautiful silence, if you haven't got that ability, learn it, meditate, be present. And when you do have room to play something in that brain of yours, that mind of yours, then play something that's pleasing. I mean, you're not going to sit and watch TV, are you, and stick something on that you don't like to watch. Yet you do that with your mind.
Yeah.
You
You allow the mind, yes.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
it's
good
you.
one.
It's all about you. You all the time.
So what is enlightenment then?
Enlightenment, first of all, it needs a strong motivation to even want to look at it. And like I said, most people who are motivated to enlightenment, they want to be identified. Actually, enlightenment is about losing identifying. They want to be identified with a strange cult or a strange religion with wear strange robes, and they look different. They've got this different approach to life, and wow, man, that's the one to be. Let's be like, you know, a hippie and do like they did in the 60s and the 70s. That's identification. That's the very thing that you're going to lose.
It's the opposite of enlightenment.
Yeah. So you're going to lose identification.
You don't identify anymore with being a good person or a kind person.
No.
It's exactly the opposite.
You look at yourself, what you've become at that point, when the suffering has come to such a point that you want a better answer than the ones you've been given so far. And it's not about identification to a group of religious organisations or whatever. It's nothing about that. It's not about getting rid of one identity to replace it with another. It's the identity, it's the desire to become identified is the thing you're getting rid of. So it's a death.
Yeah.
And how do we bring on this death? Well, we spoke about, it's about ending your, ending attachment, attachment is the basic principle. It's losing attachment to all of those things that have control over you and everything else besides that. Because even though you may think right now that not everything has control over you, well, when you go deep into it, you'll find that everything has control that you're grasping hold of. So it's about losing, and it's a big sacrifice, you think it is, but you have to lose everything in order to gain everything. And you can only know that when you actually get there. Yeah. So you're losing all the causes of suffering. And it'll be, and I know you're talking to Tammy, right? And I know you and Bert are just like me and Bianca, Ahiranta. And you have to lose, if you really want enlightenment, you have to lose your attachment to your husband. You have to lose attachment to all your material things. You have to lose your attachment to all your family. You have to lose your attachment to everything, your job, your friends, everything. Okay, that sounds bad. I know, that's why nobody wants to go anywhere near it. But if you are brave enough to accept, and like I say, you'll only be motivated to lose all of those things when you really suffer, because all of those things, if you look at them, they will be the very things that have been causing your suffering. And if you don't let go of them, eventually those things towards older age will cause inside of your body dis-ease. What's dis-ease? Ease. What's the opposite of ease? Tension. Okay, so all of those things you're attached to, grasping, that's tension. Everything you grasp is tension. So enlightenment is the opposite. It's free. And you fly.
It doesn't matter what happens around us.
Yeah. No matter what happens around you, even in a war zone, you're free. Yeah. You're happy, you're blissing. Even if you're gonna die the next moment, you're still free, you're happy, you're blissing. And that is the after effect of enlightenment. And as we've spoken before, enlightenment itself is a state of consciousness, and it's not this consciousness that I'm using now to communicate with you guys out there, and it will explain itself when you become that yourself, that enlightenment. And should I explain it again? Because I think I explained it in the last video.
Yeah, that's in the other
Tammy,
talk, yeah.
I think Tammy will watch that other video. So if you
Yes.
try to remember, I don't want to bore people with saying
The same thing.
explaining the same things over.
Yeah.
But if you look at, if you put that video with this one, and if you have any questions on what enlightenment is, then please feel free to ask Tammy
Yeah.
and Bird. I think it's more Tammy though, isn't it?
Yeah, Tammy. Bert is absolutely supportive to Tammy.
Really nice
He's her
couple.
rock, yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't need to go towards, to reach enlightenment. That doesn't need to be the goal. Just sitting with yourself every day.
You only need to go so far, even if you stop at joy.
Yeah.
You're free of all the other stuff. You're still attached.
Because we seek the approval of other people. We want our children to come and see us. And if they don't, we feel so deeply hurt. If we free ourselves, if we can see why our children live their own life, and that it's really lovely just to be together. We don't need outside influence to add to our happiness. That is already a freedom. It is coming to that insight, how that frees us from our anxiety. Is an enlightened moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before you reach the enlightened state, we have little enlightenment moments.
Yeah.
And I
there's
think
a point you can reach.
Yeah, and that is where we are at, Tammy. If you already wrote to us that you sit most days, even if it's just for a minute, just sit with Tammy. Just be Tammy.
Yeah.
And that is so precious, and that's where it starts. It starts with baby steps.
Yeah, that's right, baby step. And I'll give you a bit of advice, right? If you're feeling down one day, depressed, anxious, or anything negative.
Life is overwhelming.
Yeah, life is overwhelming. And I will tell you that it's because you were attached to something that's not under your control.
Yeah, you want something.
And the cure is not a pill or not anti-anxiety, is to sit down, Tammy moment, like Ahiranta just said, and to look at what's been going on and what is this worst thing, because it's always one of the worst things you don't want to happen, and it's happening.
Yeah.
And you feel down, you feel depressed. Sometimes because we built up our personality to present to the world, we want to look in a certain way to the world, and we believe that we are this certain way that we are presented to the world. And so say it's a member of your family who's acting in a certain way, and it's against what you really like, but you pretend that you like it. You walk away and you've convinced yourself mentally that you like it, but in your subconscious it's brought you down.
Yeah.
And it's hidden, because they don't call it sub for no reason, because you identify to being a nice person, and that's okay, love, you be like that, but in your heart or your subconscious mind, what you really want is being gone against, and it's pushed, it's stressed you, it's put you under tension inside. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're really kind, and you agree with that person just to be a nice person, because you're looking at yourself through their eyes too. And this is a problem sometimes, because you're not free then. And so you adjust to what they want, but they're not adjusting to what you want. And that's the problem. So what's the answer? The answer is to severe it, is to detach yourself from it. Because that's what's causing you the illness. That's what's causing you the dis-ease inside yourself. And it will lead on to dis-ease, there. And so if you want to be the best thing for your family and they are causing the problems, then cut yourself off, and you will join back up to them in a much more abundant, much more loving, much more pure way than trying to control them.
It's wishing, huh?
Yeah.
It's the wishing how we want it to be, instead of just fully accept. Okay, they don't want to be a part of my life. They don't come and see me when I want to.
Sometimes
fine.
It's about the way they act.
It's fine. I can't change other people, but I can change how I deal with it. And this minute is my life, and it's too precious to waste about wishful thinking, how I would like it to be. We have 8 grandchildren. We don't see 3 of them. One of them we saw for 7 years. Absolutely wonderful. We had them a few times a week. Absolutely wonderful. But we knew that it would be only a matter of time before his parents would take him away from us, because they used the children as a weapon. We already knew that, and we accept it. We let it go. We can't change it. We are not going to be a slave to their power games. So everybody is welcome in this house, but in full respect. If not, fine, that's all right. But come back when you want to pay respect to the elderly in the clan, because we are the clan, the head of the clan. Doesn't mean that they have to live their lives as we say they do. That has nothing to do with it. And the other two grandchildren we have never seen. We know of them, and we would love to have them in our life, but we are not going to crawl around to make that happen.
No.
If they ring the doorbell and bring their grandchildren to see us, we would love that. But we are not going to be sad when they don't do, because this is our life. We are living our life. And what keeps us in a happy state, that's why this is called a Happy Life Show, is we accept things as they are. And we don't keep wishing, oh,
and
I
for the
wish.
greater good is an important one.
Yes, we don't wish, oh, I don't see them, and oh, what if? No, this is how it is, and that is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It is without judgment towards the people who prevents us from seeing them. They are on their path, and there is no animosity towards those people. There's full understanding, and the grandchildren that we do see, we enjoy it. We enjoy it, but we will never be a slave to people who have the power to take them away. We will never be a slave to that.
Yeah, I want to say something as well about that, because this is something you learn as well from meditation and understanding the nature of all of yourselves and the final self, and that is that we all have, by knowing yourself, you recognise that we all have an inherent desire to control our environment for our own personal betterment. We may not be mentally aware of that because of our ego wants to project a good idea about ourselves, and to be selfish is not a good idea about ourselves, so we make that sub, we push it down out the way. But underneath it all, what's going on is, therefore, in where you get, let's say, grandparents, like Ahiranta was speaking about, and the parents, so your children, if you're a grandparent, and I want those children as well, you know, who's got a mother and father, and they got children, or the mother and father's grandchildren, it get complex.
Yeah.
I want you to recognise that often you don't know that you are out to get the best for yourself. And if you see a weakness, and I'm talking subconscious now, you may have given yourself, we all have a fake personality, and we don't know it's fake until we know ourselves completely. And if this subconscious animal, the one that wants best for himself, sees a weakness in the parents, it will manipulate that weakness for his own betterment. And the weakness for the grandparents is often the grandchildren. And these children, they don't know they're doing it consciously. Maybe some of them do, maybe some of them go more aware of it. But they will squeeze everything from the grandparents, and they will use those, oh, I'm not coming around this weekend. And the reason is because they didn't like some situation with
something you said,
but they will say something nice, but because we got something else to do, and but they are giving a sort of hidden messages. If you don't behave yourself, I'm going to keep my children away from you.
Yeah, power.
And so they manipulate subconsciously all the time for their advantage. Yeah. And then as the grandchildren grow up, they recognise it because they feel. That's your subconscious. It feels. This feels nice. That doesn't feel nice. If I talk to grandparents this way, it makes me feel nice, but it don't matter about how they feel. They're going to be dead soon anyway. And I'll help them maybe
help
by
them
taking what's good for me. And so therefore, it's about, if you want to do it right, for those out there who's already grandparents, recognize it, be aware of it, because it's dangerous. It's poison for you. And
poison for them too.
You've got to set the example by showing that you will not
be controlled
or manipulated by the grandchildren. And only then can you stop it right there, because if you don't stop it, it's going to go on to the next generation, and the next generation, then it's going to be 100 generations, and that filth is going to be in all of those people because you were too weak to use your backbone, to be strong, to cut it, severe
it. Stops here, yeah.
Sacrifice.
Here's where
Sacrifice
it stops. Yeah.
is giving, is losing something for a greater good. And sometimes for your grandchildren and your children, for their benefit, it's hard for you because you've got to recognize your weakness of attachment. Always remember, if you feel down and depressed, it's because you're attached, and you should be severe in it, getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But what you're trying to do is grasp it, and you're still holding on to it where you should be letting it go.
Yeah, wish for
Tension.
how it should be instead of accepting how it is. And that is done in love. You don't severe people and then hate them or dislike them.
No.
The love inside towards your children and grandchildren it cannot be changed if you love in the way that you come to love when you reach consciousness and you become aware of the working. Love that comes with rules, that has nothing to do with love. That is what a lot of people confuse love with. Love is unconditional. Doesn't matter what they do. Doesn't matter if they go wrong, what we call wrong, like stealing or using drugs. Or we don't agree with that choice of that person. We would wish for that person to make another choice, but it's their life, it's their path. And it doesn't diminish our love for them.
No, it's not about feeding their bad behavior.
That's right, but it doesn't mean that we accept threatening behavior because of an addiction. Because people who are addicted, they abuse themselves, and by that they abuse everything around them to sustain the addiction, to sustain the justification why they need to do what they are doing. So cutting people out of your life, and by the way, we never cut anybody out of our life.
We just don't.
But we don't.
To be manipulated.
We don't chase anybody who says, "Do you know what? I don't like what you just said to me, so I'm no longer come and see you." Okay.
Then they try.
Goodbye. Goodbye. There's the door.
What they do is they think that you're going to run after them, and at that point they're going to control you, or you're going to allow them to try to work something out for themselves, and it has to be mutual.
And they try to manipulate you in any way possible to justify their reasoning. No,
it sounds bad the way we're saying it, but it's not like that.
No. It is just the development where they are at, and that doesn't mean that we are higher and they are lower. It has nothing to do with it. We have come to know our own reasoning, and by that we recognize it in them. If we recognize it in them, we have been just like them. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to recognize it.
Conditioning. And
another thing that they will try, people around you, if you reach the enlightened state, not that, but if you're in an enlightened moment, because it's like a step, isn't it? Enlightenment. You become to realize something. It's a small enlightenment, not the enlightened state, but it's a small.
And every enlightenment is non-attachment.
Yeah, but you come to see the working of the wheel, like in a flour mill, the water wheel. It goes round and round, and in every step is important in the water wheel. Otherwise, it couldn't turn. So, if you come to see the children try to manipulate us, for example, the next thing they will try to do is break us up. So they will say, "Well, I want to see you, but leave the sidekick at home." Or you can come and see me and the children, but mom is not welcome, for example. And we make the decision, no, it is us. If one of us is not welcome, none of us is going. We are a unit. We will never be divided in that way.
Yeah. They try all sorts, they do.
So the ego justify any way of thinking, any action they make from that thinking. And why do we know that? We have been there.
Yeah, we could have been washed away with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just because what it is conditioning that's handed down from generation to generation. But unfortunately, we made a break. We became aware. We woke up to it. And not everyone does that. And I think it was through unusual circumstances that I got thrown into prison. I suffered and I found a way out, a way of freedom, liberation. It was non-attachment. Remember that. If you're feeling squeezed, if you're feeling depressed, dis-ease, it's all about holding.
Holding on.
So it means that each time you get an attack of depression or anxiety, it's because there's something, and you won't always see it straight away. You have to sit down with yourself out there, and you have to wait, and then look at everything, and then you look at something, and then that something goes, oh, I'm scared. And right there, look at that. That's what got to be non-attached to, because that is what's causing you the depression and the anxiety. It's only you, no one else. I can't tell you. I mean, don't go and see a doctor and ask him for a bottle of well, I shouldn't say, sorry, I'm not right to say that because it's
you're not medically trained.
Yes. But what I would suggest is look at that sensitive issue and deal with it and turn it around.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Detach. If it's a person who can't change their behaviour, you can change your behaviour and how you react to it.
Yeah.
No one else. Don't go and run out. Well, you can hide behind the drink, right, and put the drink down there. Wow, what did I ever worry about that shit in the first ball? It's so menial. And then you wake up the next morning, you're sober, and it all starts again. Let's take it again, and it all keeps going round in circles. The scratch is not broken, and it goes around.
I
in
like
circles.
this one. It is like this. This, see, holding on. How long can we hold on? How long can we keep this fist?
Yeah.
So this fist represents. This is. I wish it would be like this. I wish this. I want it like that. But I have made a conscious decision to live like this. Everybody can land on here.
Yeah, like a bird.
But they are all allowed to fly off.
If they want to.
And then return whenever they feel. But they cannot stay there and weigh me down to fulfill their needs and their wants and their desires. They are not allowed to tell me how I should be, how I should talk, what I can say to them, what I can't say to them, what I have to wear. The only person who can tell me what to wear is my mother. Why?
What about me?
Well, okay, to a certain degree.
Thank you.
Yeah. But other than that, I will always do as much as I possibly can. My mother, we always come from the point, our parents are always right, even when they're wrong. It's just a form of respect. Maybe it's because we are of a different generation. No matter how wrong they are, they're always right. But living like this, with the hand open, everybody's welcome. It's never close to anybody, no matter what they do. Because why? We have done all they have done in some form.
Yeah.
Everybody is on his path to enlightenment. Some people say everybody is already enlightenment. That's another talk. But for this talk, everybody's on its path to free itself from suffering.
Yeah.
And it's up to, as soon as I saw that I was the creator of my suffering, I felt empowered. I was no victim anymore from something that might have happened, but that doesn't mean there is not still a little girl inside of me that is still hurt, and I am the woman who is free.
But who keeps it alive, the little girl?
The little girl.
Oh, the little girl.
Yeah.
Who are you then?
The little girl doesn't want to die or.
Who keeps the little girl?
I think my thought patterns and the pain
Who's
in my.
responsible for that?
Me.
Yeah, and who's me?
My identity, who I think I
Identity.
am.
What's your identity? Who made that?
My ego makes an identity
Ego?
in it. Yeah.
But is there an ego there until you make it?
No.
So what are
But
you?
a society put an ego. I need to have an ego
Oh
to
yeah,
function.
communication. That's all right. You know, it's all right to jump up on stage and be an actor. But when you get off the stage, what's then?
Yeah, that's a good one because I don't really know why I can hold on to that little girl. Maybe I feel sorry for myself.
Yeah,
The
you want to be a
unjust.
victim, do you?
Yeah, maybe.
It's nice. Sometimes we get something from being a victim as well as we do from being whatever we choose to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get some kind of control when we are sometimes a victim.
I think I have to clean out the imprint that what
Conditioning.
happened. What
Learned.
happened.
That's what we were talking about with the record. Is the child is a record replaying itself,
Yeah.
and
Certain situations activate straight away that
Yeah.
groove straight away.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you're aware of it. That's the
Yeah, that is yeah, but I would love to be completely
Let
free
the child.
of it.
You know, it's like you're talking with the. You know, the child can land on there, but when
Yeah, but how do I set that child free?
well, when it's time for the child to go,
Yeah, but how do I do
don't
that?
grasp it and hold on to it. That's the issue. Is the grasping.
Consciously, I'm not grasping.
Attachment.
But it's activated.
But you're only not grasping when you're not aware. As soon as you become aware,
If you say a certain thing to me, the child is straight away. I don't want to
Yeah, 'cause
have it happen.
yeah.
What happened in the past, I don't want that to happen
Yeah.
again. So it is a
Memorised,
learned
isn't it?
behavior, isn't it? Yeah.
learned, memorized.
Imprint. Yeah.
So you keep playing the record over. But as soon as you talk about it now, right? And so therefore, you've made yourself aware of it now, okay? And normally it's an automatic environment.
It's an automatic response, just like the snail. When somebody
Yeah.
bangs on the ground, it pulls his head
Pulls
back.
his head
That's
into the shell.
exactly that.
And
So
that is exactly
it's
that.
an instinctive reaction.
That's right. And so, first of all, you have to become somebody who can observe the hammer and who can observe the snail and the action of the snail, which is observing that when this happens, the child turns up and this pattern of behaviour. So it's developing awareness of that. And then only when it's played itself out a few times and you've become aware a few times that you can change it.
And keep the head
Before
out.
it happens, because
Yeah.
you recognise this and this happened, and then because you became aware at this point, and then it happened again, aware at this point again, and then before it happens, you'll be up here somewhere, you look at it, at that point there, when something is at that point there, you'll stop it right up there before it gets to the child.
Because the observer has such an overview, yeah.
The child will die, and so it can't happen. The child can't be there anymore. So it's about, as we spoke about earlier, non-attachment and attachment to behaviour, something that makes us feel better about ourselves. And as Ahiranta spoke, it's about allowing the little girl can come and she can land there like a bird, and not holding on to it and causing problems, but allowing it. It'll be difficult. Everything, learned behaviour is difficult to lose.
Yeah.
But the more, like we spoke earlier, you became aware at this point, and then at that point up there somewhere, before it ever gets to the child, you become aware, and this leads to this, and this, and this. And then and the thing is, with an open end, it's free. And that means something else can land there, and something else, and something else. And they all serve their time there, and then they fly away, serve the time there, fly. Because you're not only setting yourself free with an open end, you're setting them free. And if children are causing you causing unwholesome feelings and anxiety in yourself, then they need to learn something too, as well as you. You've got to learn to let go. They've got to learn to understand this behaviour doesn't get what it used to get, and then they'll figure it out. The world becomes a better place.
Yeah.
You become a better person. You become more adapted to dealing with certain situations.
Yeah.
Our liberation is in our ability to let go and to be free.
Yeah.
Because when you grasp, when you grasp something, you not only
It's
just
pain,
a
yeah.
bird you're grasping, you're imprisoning the bird. No, it's not just the bird you're imprisoning you.
Yeah.
So learn to remind yourself that when you get depression, try to think, when you think about the pills to take to get rid of the depression, try to think that you are the one who brought that on, and you are the one who got to break the scratch.
And look back, eh?
Yeah.
Because if my illness has been very active in the last week, then we always sit down, because Ozay helps me to reason it out. What happened? What was the variable? What brought it on? And that we can also do that in our reaction to other people. Why did I react? Without judging ourselves, eh? Oh, I'm bad. Oh gosh,
Don't
I should
elevate
have
yourself with other people's eyes.
No, but what did I contribute to the situation? What did I learn from it? What can I do? That are all enlightened moments.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is enlightenment, not the enlightened state, the ultimate enlightened state. That is way out of reach. Although Ozay reached it within 6 months in solitude.
It's a process. It's like little enlightenments. You know,
Yes.
you solve an issue. Holding onto that bird, right? Because it's always holding, grasping. Attachment is the word. Is the key word. The key thing. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Next thing you should think is attachment. What am I attached to? Look.
Yeah.
What am I attached to? Because the subconscious hides it, because you have to portray to the world this false persona. And because of this false persona, you've convinced yourself that everything is okay. It's okay. Oh yeah, you just walk over me, I'm fine with that. Just shit on me, I'm fine with that. Just piss all over me, I'm fine with that. But you're not really.
No.
You're not really happy
That is
about
words,
that.
yeah.
Deep down, something have happened down here.
Yeah.
That's your subconscious, your feeling centre.
Yeah.
And your feeling centre is in a bad way. And your mind, let's be happy. Let's say something nice, let's be bright, cheerful. But in your heart, you're not. This is what the feeling centre is, the heart they speak about. I know, yeah, you do get it up there too, the feeling. But this is the main one. This is the one, they call that the second brain as well. I always spoke about it. That
Even as a child, eh? You
Yeah.
asked a teacher, where is the brain? And you said, isn't it in my belly?
No, that was down my back. I thought it was down my back to start with. And then this came later.
Okay.
Later in life. But so anyway, remember that depression, anxiety, you're attached to something.
Yeah.
Find that something. It'd be ideal if you could find enlightenment, because enlightenment is detachment from the instinctive self, the body,
Yeah.
from the fear of death. That's the final enlightenment.
Yeah.
And that's when the breath stops.
Yeah.
But there are little enlightenments along the way that will help you with anxiety, with depression.
Yeah.
And I hope that the key is, when you feel down one day, to remind yourself, try to make an association. Depression, I don't feel like good, I feel like shit. What am I attached to? I'm attached to something. Trust me on that. You're attached to something, and that something is what's causing you to feel depressed.
Yeah.
Okay?
And all
Take the
those
pills if you
thoughts,
have to.
all those thoughts that don't stop in our brain are generated by our need of control. We try, if I think about that, maybe I can solve that. Maybe if I think about, and that is continuously. So the more we can just see that we don't need to control anything, and we need to move towards acceptance.
Freedom.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
I accept my child is behaving like that. I can't change it. Can I change it? No. Then I'm not going to give it any more thought. I accept that I long for them to come towards me, but can I make them? No. Then I accept the longing, and I just accept that I can't change them. And that really empowered me when I came to see that. So I hope this will help you a little bit understanding what enlightenment is.
And it's not
Tammy.
just about your children, right? It's about people around you, friends, colleagues,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And it's the same process.
Yeah.
And it could be that you're having dealings with people outside the family. And,
Yeah, it works the same.
It's the same
It works the
principle.
same. And even with the partner, some people use silence to gain control over the other. They don't speak to them because they didn't do what they wanted.
Or just leave your dirty socks somewhere. Dirty underwear.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I think this covers a part of it, Tammy, and Bert, of course. I know you both watched this on a big screen. I have seen, beautiful. And we are really looking forward to your next video together, actually. I know we made you wait a long time for our
Tammy and Bert's
video.
Utopia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Check it out. They have their own YouTube channel, Tammy and Bert Utopia.
Really down to earth people.
Yeah,
Really good
and
to
Tammy
watch.
is just wonderful. You wouldn't think that sometimes life overwhelms her. She is so bubbly. We love hearing her voice.
Especially
So
Aussie.
kind.
I like the Aussie accent as well. I could have been like that because
Yeah.
when I was a kid, my mum and dad was planning on moving to Australia. I could have, you know what I mean, you old mate.
Yeah,
Down
and
under.
my family,
God
from my
bless.
father's side, my grandparents and my uncles and all, they all moved to Australia in the 50s.
Australia.
Yeah, so I have lots of auntie, uncles, nephews, nieces.
I think I got.
And no, not nephews and nieces, you call that cousins in England. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank
you.
you, Tammy, for
Yeah.
leaving your question. If you have any more, please feel free to leave it in the comments. And please, everyone, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share if you can on Facebook or Instagram. Really helps us out.
And it's a method as well. It's called the sword to cut the weeds down. And cutting the weeds is the non-attachment. So develop your sword, make it sharp, and make it fearless. It's the fear that keeps you holding.
Yeah.
End of.
End of. See you next time. Bye-bye.